Welcome to the Marketing Stir podcast by Stirista, where we chat with industry leaders and get their take on the challenges facing the market. And maybe we'll have a little fun along the way. Dive into a compelling conversation with MJ DePalma, Chief Innovation Architect at Maxa Jaguar Syndicate, and former Microsoft leader, as she explores the importance of emotional intelligence in marketing, the benefits of doing inclusion the right way, and the necessity of a sustainable, regenerative economy.
Ladies and gentlemen, what is going on? It is your happy host, Vincent Petrofessa. I am in a cardigan. It is cold here in New York City, so you know what time of the year it is. Ladies and gentlemen, I am your host, the Vice President of B2B Products and Partnerships at Stirista. My co-host, Mr. AJ Gupta, he is not here. He's very busy. So we'll get to him in a moment, but let's talk about Stirista just for like 15 seconds. We're a marketing technology company. We own our own business-to-business data, business-to-consumer data. We help companies access that data through our own technology, our own email platform, demand-side platform. We help you get new customers. Isn't that great? Who doesn't want new customers? Maybe some people don't. Who knows? Email me, vincent@stirista.com. That is how confident I am. I just gave all of you my email address, and you are using it. Also, ladies and gentlemen, very special episode today with one of those people, right, who you feel like you've known a long time. I'm like, maybe it's the Italian connection. Maybe I'm like, wait a minute, original New Yorker. Maybe it's that. It usually is. Also, so much better dressed than I am. This person blows me out of the water. An interesting story, ladies and gentlemen. Currently, Chief Engineering Architect at Maxa Jaguar Syndicate, most recently working with Microsoft. You know that company, right? Let's give a warm welcome to my pal, MJ DePalma. What's going on, MJ?
Thank you so much, Vincent. It's so exciting to be here and looking forward to this conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. There's a New York connection between me and you, right? And immediately, and I think a lot of people, my co-host, he's from San Antonio, Texas. He doesn't get it. He doesn't get how New Yorkers, we know each other. We identify with each other. That's what I feel with you.
Oh, thank you so much. I think it's really about the culture of connection and origin. So I'm sure anyone who comes from Texas and is from Texas has the same experience when they meet someone from Texas too.
Yes, that is a great point, because everyone always has like, don't mess with Texas. They throw
Exactly.
the Texas horns and all that. But yeah, you're right. MJ, talk to me about your company, your role, what you're doing. Love to understand what you've been up to recently.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm so passionate about the work that I had done at Microsoft. And in the recent years, there's been some rumblings about how does inclusion drive impact. And one of the things that I sat down and really thought about was how inclusion is nothing but personalization. And when we think about personalization, we want to take it a lot further than insert name in this email. We want context. We want someone to feel as though you get me intimately. And one of the things that I think has been missing in marketing in a rigorous level is the idea of EQ. And so my current company, Maxa Jaguar Syndicate, and the word syndicate is there because I have a really strong network of professionals that I've worked with over the years that I would call upon if there's any area that I'm not expert in. But I'm really expert in designing a marketing campaign that takes your data, whatever data you're licensing or first-party data, and makes better use out of it to create either advertising, marketing, or communication that pays off your product truths and makes someone feel inspired to take action, because we know neuroscience tells us humans cannot make a decision without accessing their emotions. And often we don't do a lot of rigorous emotional mapping to the reason someone buys a particular product in a category and how that solves a problem or quiets a fear or delivers on hope. And so that's really the focus of my consultancy.
I love it. And MJ, how did you get started in marketing?
I am a very curious person about what motivates people. And I found myself at UCLA as a double major in art studio and psychology, got a degree in psychology. And as I was putting myself through school at UCLA, I had a job in sales for Speedo Authentic Fitness. And learning how to sell was one of the main, I would say, trainings at that company. And technically speaking, there's a lot that goes into swimsuits. And the CEO of that company really invested in sales training that aligned with product truths. So this was about developing loyalty through true connection of matching someone's desires with product solutions and product truths. And as that happened, one thing led to another. And I realized that I love being Sherlock Holmes. I love finding the missing piece that connects that unique solution to someone's problems. And so that's how I really got started in marketing. One thing led to another. And it was more like a discovery process that made use of my best skills and assets of being enthusiastic, of doing right by someone versus transactional. And transactional being, I just want to sell you this one thing right now. I don't care about downstream. I really care about a long-term relationship that is going to last a long time. And that is really how I got started in marketing.
And so that's interesting because you've been on the sales side and then pivoted into marketing. Was that helpful? Do you think a lot of people should?
Is sales at scale, really.
Yeah.
Marketing is sales at scale. And if you don't do sales well, one-on-one, I don't think you can do marketing as well as I'd hope to do myself. So it's just like sailing, like if you start off on course a couple of degrees off in marketing, you're going to have a larger negative impact with what you're leading. So I think sales is really a critical skill in marketing. And if you haven't sold, if you weren't on the front lines, I think it creates a certain kind of empathy, with your partners and your stakeholders within a company, and ensuring that you're charting a course that really is well researched, because you're putting a lot of resources behind it, and money and time. And so it lends itself really well. I think sales and marketing go hand in hand, and they should be working very closely together.
That's right. You hear that, people? Those sales, marketing, always kind of come on.
Together, people.
Together. That's what we're all about, bringing people together on this podcast. I want to talk about another kind of pivot, right? So I remember you and I talking, and you said, get as many no's as you can. And how do you know when to keep pushing versus when to pivot?
Yeah. For the audience, I have this saying that, when you're trying to potentially internally or even externally, whether it's an internal project and you're trying to get support or buy off, you're looking for as many no's as you can, because you're getting to the closer right yes. The no's give you information, it's data points. And so getting really good at asking questions, clarifying, are the fears or the no's centered around timing, or potentially just an unknowing of the benefit, and centered around fears. So the more the no's you get, the closer you're going to get to the right yes. And that right yes will save you time and effort later on. What if you got the wrong yes and you start going down that path, and then you realize, wait a second, this is a whole waste of both of ours time, because we didn't ask all the right questions in the beginning. And so it's really important to get clear on what doesn't work, where it doesn't work, why it doesn't work, so you can get to where it does.
I love it. And MJ, one of the things that you preach, inclusivity, but not just inclusivity for certain groups, but for all humans, right? So kind of talk to us about some meaning behind that.
Well, as business professionals, let's be all honest here. Inclusion, and I'd love to deconstruct what the conflation is around inclusion nowadays. Inclusion is not about affirmative action where you hire someone who is unqualified. Like that's what I've been hearing. That's not what this is about. Inclusion is about understanding humans and what it is that they need to buy your product and feel as though that they're going to be a loyal customer. That's what inclusion, including people's hopes, fears, problems, challenges in the equation of designing a product, service, or experience, including data that you research about someone's condition. And I'm talking about, do they need a certain language? Do they need a particular way of, framing something? Do they need a particular type of, accessibility in order to even understand what your product is in a digital format? So inclusion is a way of high quality personalization. And if we look at the data, especially with a classic McKinsey study, which when we look at diverse sets of people, right? And we look at teams that perform, whether it's a team performing or a data set trying to understand the best kind of product pivot that you're seeking, the more data points that are diverse that you have, the higher probability you're going to land a solution that will last for a really long time. Now, if you don't have a diverse set of people or data, it may appear that you perform really well, really quickly, but the data shows that conflict in the beginning, if you have diverse perspectives and experiences, where it feels as though that there's a lot of disruptive conversation, that's a good sign that you're going to get to a solution that will last, a longer period of time and outperform the other product or team. And so, yeah, do I preach it? I think the word preach is it has a connotation to it, but I do think that inclusion is a missed opportunity of earning new customers. Who wouldn't want to earn new customers? Why are we talking about, creating a disconnect from a strategy that could ensure that you're reaching more people and earning a larger swath of loyal customers? That's what this is really about.
And something else that you preach, right, I think, is sustainable media, right? And how's MJ, how's that sustainable media kind of shaping the future of marketing? And what role should companies, let's use Microsoft for an example, play within that?
So when we think about the way that, I don't know about any of you out there, but we put in a lot of time and effort in our careers, working for a company, working for ourselves. We are part of this, I would say, juggernaut of consumerism kind of economy. But at some point, we have to ask ourselves, and this is an individual question, are we participating in an economy that is going to sustain itself? Or are we optimizing to a zero-sum game where at some point there's not a planet left to do commerce on? There's no water, there's no oxygen. Now, this sounds very extreme, but the data is showing that if we do not figure out a way to have a regenerative economy, we are creating a problem for the future generations. And so for me, it is imperative that with great power comes great responsibility. So no matter what company it is, we should be looking at how are we participating in using resources in an irresponsible way and pivot towards a responsible use of energy and water and management of waste, and how do we impact the ecology when we're building data centers. And Microsoft's done a really good job at looking at what they've been doing from a cloud standpoint. Now, I think every single line of business, no matter what company you're in, should be self-examining this. And the supply chain is a really great way for anyone out there to participate. Who are you employing as a vendor or as a consultant? And what are they thinking about as far as taking action from a sustainability standpoint. AdNet Zero is a great entity to take a look at participating in from an advertising standpoint in the ecosystem of advertising. And I really believe that we as business leaders should be holding ourselves accountable for the business decisions we make. We have the power to really create a more regenerative economy. And I think it's a really important part of looking to what we're handing off to the next generation. So that's my perspective. I want to put my head down on a pillow at night and know I've done everything I can to participate in this world, that when the next generation goes, thank God that group on the Marketing Stir was talking about that.
Yeah. Try to motivate listeners one episode at a time. I love it. No, I know you're passionate about that. And I want to talk about, stay on the Microsoft topic here. It's like, what's one of the, a tough challenge that you faced while pushing a new idea at Microsoft, if any?
Oh, yeah. Thanks for that question. I mean, the one great thing about Microsoft is that it has scale. And then at the same time, that's could be a challenge, because at times, and I think with any company, one of the questions that I have for anyone listening that leads a company or even leads a division, how are you measuring success? Because how success is measured and how senior leaders are held accountable to success, that will dictate what is prioritized and how anything is prioritized. And sometimes there are new ideas that don't fit in today's paradigm. And sustainable media would be one of those that does not fit in today's paradigm. When we're trying to optimize to a revenue per impression next month, and there's short-term goals and there's long-term goals. And there's what I think we should look at different horizons and plant many types of seeds that come and mature at different times to pay off. It's just like having a diverse portfolio when you're doing your financial investing. You don't put all your eggs in one basket, like what's going to mature next month. You need to invest in other ideas that are going to capture where the future is going and diversify that as well. And so I think one of the challenges has been for me is the disconnect between how success is measured and where that level of goals reside. And so in terms of getting particular ideas, like say sustainable media, prioritized in a way where you see it mature quicker than you would hope, that was a very big challenge because there was a disconnect between how success was measured.
And you mentioned, MJ, sustainable media, that, that's one innovation there. But can you talk about another innovation that you've worked on that changed the way you thought about marketing?
So, let's reground ourselves. What is marketing? Because a lot of times people think about marketing as promotion. They think about marketing as advertising and promotion, email campaigns, social campaigns, and that is it. And I believe that marketing is everything end to end. It's product, it's promotion, it's the people you're trying to connect with. There's a framework called 6Ps, or however you want to, slice and dice it. But when we think about marketing, we're doing a disservice if we don't intimately understand a customer's problem. What is the source of the problem? I was awarded a fellowship at the Microsoft Garage for 6 months, where I left my current job, and I led a small team that went to tackle social justice, for example. And marketing is understanding intimately a problem and getting clear on what is the source cause of a problem. And one of the things that we tried to tackle is the disconnect between a 911 call and what kind of service was being delivered for that 911 call, which would sometimes result in unnecessary violence. And the core, I would say insight was, is a call about a violent situation, or is it a mental health issue? And being able to parse out who goes to that call could reduce potential like police violence that was unnecessary. And so I was part of a team that, from a cloud standpoint and managing a lot of data, we were able to understand that there are new programs that are cropping up across the United States where partnering with the police, there are social workers that then go with the police, and much better outcomes are as a result of that. And so that's just one example of marketing is about intimately understanding people's, challenges that a product or service could solve for. And I think that we don't do enough of understanding that problem in order to, like I said, get to the better yes versus, just spraying and praying and hoping that some of it sticks. And that rigor behind that approach is what I currently do at my new consultancy.
MJ, what is some advice that you received early on in this business that stays with you today that you practice?
Listening louder than I speak, and picking up those, like really getting laser focused and asking clarifying questions. If you don't understand something, I guarantee you there's somebody in the room that also is not quite clear, and to be fearless around asking questions when you don't understand something. And that curiosity has served me well. I had a gentleman early on in my career who said to me, MJ, stop agreeing with everyone in a meeting. We didn't hire you to agree with everyone. We hired you for your lived experience. We want to hear your ideas. And that really hit me quite hard. And I was like, okay, I'm going to be a little bit more courageous here. And what ended up happening is I started to do the best work of my life because I felt valued for, my lived experience, and the company did better. The teams did better. And I think that's really the best advice I could give out there is to know that you are hired for your lived experience.
Yeah. And it's one of those times, so it's okay to say no, right? Go for it's okay to say no, not always agree.
In a respectful way, right?
Yeah. You're there for a reason. Yeah.
Like, can we just look at this potentially from this perspective? I have a hunch, and it could net nothing, but it also is great to have that conversation anyway.
Yeah, exactly. These are some of the more, getting to know you personally. But before we do that, we have a LinkedIn question that we ask all of our guests. It is the question that if we do miss, people get really mad. So we want to make sure we talk to you about it. You're very nice. So I would love to hear your response to this. A message, MJ, that you just do not respond to, you dislike on LinkedIn. And then on the flip side, what's one that you respond to?
So you have to imagine if you're trying to get through to someone who's been in marketing for a long time, there are definitely formulaic reach out context that just screams like this is not personal. This is a mass, reach out. And I just shut off from that. Messages like, hey, you want more customers, right?
Yeah.
Don't do that. Find one thing that you actually really want to engage on. And it has to be genuine. One thing, make it human, make it laser focused. And I would love to get what's in it for me out of that one sentence. Like, you need to really think about what I care about and what I have to offer. I'm excited about contributing to the world in a way that makes significant impact. What in your business world, in your area, that you and I could work together that would amplify what I do And then in turn, if I participate with you, that I know I'm amplifying what you do. Can we build something together better than had we not worked at all together? That to me is gets me super excited.
And what's one that the one that you hate is just the irrelevant, right? Just no background. Just say, hey, what do I have to do to get you into some new customers, right? Right?
I don't want just new customers. I don't.
Yeah,
I
no.
want the right customer that I can partner with that will be a lifelong relationship. I've
Yeah,
had so many relationships come out of as a salesperson and as a marketer that are become friends. And
same.
that is this relationship in business should be seen as I want to develop a friendship with my customers,
Hmm.
one that I do right by, and that they will want to know, like, hey, what have you been doing for fun lately? Like, actually have a relationship with. And I know that there's scale marketing, you can't do that with everyone,
Yeah.
but that's for me. I would love to have that kind of relationship. And as a result, I've had lifelong friendships because of it.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, there's some people that I've been just friends with before, and they become amazing
Mhm.
partners. With me here at Stirista, often people will say to me, they're like, "Wait, whoa, you talked to that person like you known him for like 12 years." I was like, "Well, I just met him maybe a year ago, but it's a partnership, it's a relationship. I have to treat everyone, I have to be myself."
Yeah, I don't see it as a business relationship and a
No.
personal relationship or a business life and a personal life. I don't subscribe to that. It's one life and you get the real MJ no matter what aspect of life we're working on together.
Yeah. And one of your other points you said, I just was thinking in regards to the LinkedIn question, my SVP of marketing, Will Kunkel, he wrote on LinkedIn a couple of days ago. He's like, whoever's manager thought it would be a good idea to keep reaching out to me on the weekend, it's not a great manager. It's like, yeah, it's to your point, like how to market to marketers. It's a delicate dance. Speaking of asking you that question of, so what do you do on the weekends, right? Talk to me about what you like to do for fun, MJ. You're originally
Oh,
a New Yorker, now in Seattle, right? What are your weekends like? What do you like to do for fun, hobbies?
I have to give a little respect to actually where I grew up because, yes, I would say my parents are from New York.
Yeah.
My dad was from Brooklyn. My mom was from Queens and Long Island prior to that, but they had me in New Jersey. So I have
Yeah.
to set the record straight. I'm
Yeah.
more of a New Jerseyite than a New Yorker.
Like a true New
Um,
Jerseyan. Yes, that's they do that. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Wait a minute. Yeah.
there's definitely, like, I would say, an underdog flavor when you come from New Jersey because of
Yep.
the New York shadow.
Hmm.
So I just wanted to say that. Yeah, I actually am a music file. I love music so much. I'm in the process of producing music, learning to produce music. I've DJ'd for many, many years for fun, and now I'm producing my own house tracks. And on the weekend, I've been working on my first house track. So that's what I've been doing lately.
Oh, I love
Also,
house music.
oh
That's
my God,
great.
there's something to it that just feels super fulfilling.
Yeah.
And aligns with my meditation practice.
Yeah.
I've been pursuing meditation for a while now and working on that. I love hiking and paddleboarding, and in the Pacific Northwest there's something called mushroom hunting. We do that in the fall where you look
That's awesome.
at
Yeah.
chanterelles and edibles like morels and things like that.
Oh,
So
wow. That's cool. That
yeah,
that
yeah.
that's a first. That is the first person in all these episodes that say I go mushroom hunting.
I never knew that
I knew
that was
you were
a
unique,
thing
MJ. Yeah.
until you move to the Pacific Northwest, and it is a thing.
That is so funny. That's great. Now I love so house music is one of my favorites, kind of growing up in the 90s for me. It kind of like when it kind of broke into I maybe it was probably before that, but I remember it breaking into the US. My two boys this morning were listening to this like silly thing on YouTube, but it was house music. And like my little 5-year-old's bobbing his head. And I'm like, that's house music. And I had to explain it to him. That was just this morning. How timely is
Of
that?
course.
That is awesome. But that has been our time, MJ. It is great to talk to you and hear from you. Classic New Jersey. I love you defending New Jersey. And I love the passion that you bring to the episode and bring to this industry. That is MJ DePalma, ladies and gentlemen, Chief Engineering Architect, Maxa Jaguar Syndicate. Check her out. Talking about Microsoft. Love the work you've done there. This has been The Marketing Stir. That's MJ. I'm Vincent. This has been another episode of The Marketing Stir, and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you for listening.
Thanks for listening to the Marketing Stir podcast by Stirista. Please like and subscribe. If you're interested in being a guest on the podcast, please email us at themarketingstir@stirista.com.